Hello and welcome to This Week on Planet Earth. I'm your co-host Jacob.
And I'm your co-host Matty, where each week we break down the latest space exploration, science, and technology news.
So without further ado, let's get into this week's stories. So I'm going to kick this week's episode off with a pretty interesting story, and that is cyclist Christina Birch has swapped cycling for out of space. And basically the former national track champion lands a role as a NASA astronaut. And I just thought that this was awesome. This just goes to show you that times are changing.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. So she's one of 10 new astronauts that NASA have hired as part of their Artemis missions. And yeah, it does say that she does have an academic background in maths and biochemistry, so
Yeah.
not completely left field. But yeah, it's interesting that she decided to have such a big sort of change. So yeah, I think
Yeah,
good news for her.
it'll be cool monitoring all these astronauts going forward as well, because obviously the Artemis mission is going to be super interesting. We've spoken a little bit about it because I think we devoted a whole episode of the podcast to it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'll be interested to see what kind of role she plays as an astronaut when she does go on that mission, because obviously there's a few different things that are going down for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems pretty cool. Good luck to her. So my first piece of news is from Iceland. So I'm sure as many of you know, Iceland has a lot of volcanic activity. So the famous one, Eyjafjallajökull, which erupted back in 2010, I think, caused a lot of sort of disruption to Europe's air travel. While another volcano called Grímsvötn, which erupted just after that volcano, has been put on alert, so they're expecting another eruption. It's gone from yellow to orange alert, with the equivalent of the Iceland Met Office saying that several earthquakes have been sort of detected near the volcano, and they're expecting some volcanic activity. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. This isn't sort of massive news for those in Iceland who probably deal with this sort of thing every other day, but it seems like it's quite a big volcano and it has quite a lot of potential to cause similar sorts of disruption again. So
yeah, that's interesting. I've always been fascinated by like volcanic eruptions and stuff, to be fair.
mm-hmm.
I'm really interested in like the two big super volcanoes. Is it Yellowstone and then the one in Canary Islands?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, so that'll be interesting to kind of keep up with and see what goes on with that.
Mm-hmm.
So my second story is a little bit left field, and that is that Chinese scientists, or are they scientists or are they? Oh no, I guess they are scientists because they're operating the data, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
So Chinese scientists spot mysterious hut on far side of the moon. And this is an article from Sky News, and it basically shows this image of the surface of the moon, which we'll go on to say whereabouts it is in a second. But basically, they've kind of seen an unusual object, and they're going to go and when they were doing their Chang 4 lunar mission, and they're going to send their Jade Rabbit rover, or the U-22, over to investigate it. But it looks weird. It kind of looks like, I don't know, kind of like a little wooden, well, not even wooden, like little stone cabin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a tiny little grey square on the horizon. It does look like there's almost like two things there, like two people. There's this like black rift between them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does look a bit weird. So did you have any details about when they're going to actually get there? So I see that it's most likely a boulder. But
yeah, so it says that this image was took 80 meters away, and it would take 2 to 3 days to get back there. And they're calling the geometric shape a hut, but it could just be a visual artifact caused by a low resolution.
Yeah,
but it's interesting nevertheless. I always like these kind of things when people see things on other planets and in NASA images, but it does look weird.
Yeah.
It does look very out of place in comparison to everything else, because like you could say, it's just a big boulder or a rock or something, but
Hmm.
it's like you're saying, it does look like there's more weight at the top than there is at the bottom as well.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm sure we'll find out sooner or later. It's the Russians have been building bases on the moon. Anyway, my next bit of news was about another space SPAC, so special purchase acquisition company. So a sort of stock market bit of news, but also space news. So this is about Tomorrow.io. Is ready to merge with Pine Technology Acquisition Corp. So that's the SPAC in question. And they're getting ready to go through with the deal. So the this company, Tomorrow.io, will be publicly listed from mid 2022. And they're hoping to raise 345 million as part of this deal. So basically, it's another space company going from sort of in-house private to a public company which people can trade on, and they're hopefully going to use that sort of growth to grow their weather constellation. So Tomorrow.io, a company that use weather satellites to do all sorts of weather prediction and long-term sort of data collecting and trends monitoring. So yeah, quite interesting that we're seeing more of these companies go public and become sort of proper big companies.
Yeah, I was going to say, in this year alone, there's been a few, hasn't there? Like we've seen
Mm-hmm.
Rocket Lab and Astra.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's been a few others as well. But yeah, it seems promising. We're definitely moving into the space age, or
Mm-hmm.
are in the space age, the beginnings of it.
Yeah, definitely.
So for my final piece this week, I have got a little interesting bit of astronomy for you. But the Southern Cross Star, this is what the title of the piece is titled. It says Southern Cross Star is 14.5 times heavier than Sun, scientists say. And it basically goes on to say one of the more striking constellations of the southern hemisphere sky, the Southern Cross, can claim a new accolade. Its bright blue giant beta Crucis star has been revealed as a heavyweight champion. An international team of scientists have discovered that the Beta Crucis, also known as Mimosa, is 14.5 times heavier than Earth's sun and is just 11 million years old, making it the heaviest of thousands of stars to have their age determined by astroseismology.
Astroseismology. This is to me the really interesting bit about this. So the doctor that sort of introduced this news piece talks about this technique. It's pretty cool. They basically rely on seismic waves that bounce around inside the actual sun itself, the star itself, to try and determine how heavy it is, which is mad to me that they're able to do this. And yeah, they have. I think what's particularly interesting is this is one of the first times that it's actually being used accurately as well. So that's also a sort of big talking point about this particular discovery.
No, that is really interesting for me. It always blows my mind when people like try and figure out how to like do this kind of stuff, because it's like, yeah, how would you weigh like a star? Do you know what I mean? Especially something that's like that far away. But yeah, it is interesting.
Mm-hmm. My last piece of news is also space related. So recently, we obviously had Jeff Bezos and completely blank Richard Branson go to space. So now Russia are joining in. So they have launched a Japanese billionaire to the International Space Station. So a fashion tycoon, Yasuku Meizawa, has a list of 100 tasks that he wants to try and complete, including hosting a badminton tournament.
Isn't he going to the moon with SpaceX at some point in the future?
I think he is on the list. He's one of those people, yes.
He was doing the competition, wasn't he, for the art people?
Yeah, so he is already off on his way to the International Space Station on board a Soyuz rocket from Baikonur. And yeah, this is actually Russia sort of returning to space tourism, because they did all that stuff back in the early 40s. I think we discussed it when we were talking about Jeff Bezos, about how they used to do this stuff actually quite a long time ago, about sending stuff up on Soyuz rockets and doing adverts in space and stuff. So they're sort of returning to this, but yeah, he's actually going on to the International Space Station, which I think we can arguably say is proper space.
Yeah. No, I'd agree with you. I think that would be cool to go to the International Space Station. I think I think that's like the real trip, isn't it? If you can get that one.
Yeah.
Because
absolutely.
Haven't Russia just sent somebody up there actually to the International Space Station to start shooting a film?
I think so. I'm not sure if that has happened or it is planning to happen, but
because I know they're doing it in America as well, aren't they? With Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
But, it's this Japanese guy's going to spend 12 days on the station, so
wow,
it's proper space stuff.
Proper space. Long enough to take it all in. Well, probably not, but at the same time, probably is if you're not enjoying it. If you get up there and you find out it's not for you, 12 days is probably too long. But, that sounds cool. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in to this week's episode of This Week on Planet Earth. We've also started a new series over on the Infinite Void podcast, which is all about free will, with part 1 being arguments for free will. So head over and check that out. It's available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. And yeah, you can keep up to date with everything on social media by following Infinite Void Pod on Twitter for TWOPE news updates and podcast updates. And then This Week on Planet Earth has its own Instagram, which is at TWOPE News. So you can go follow them. You can follow me at Jacob Carson, and you can follow Matty at the Matty JMP. And yeah, we will catch you next episode.